You're listening to the Prepper Recon podcast. For questions, comments, and podcast archives, go to prepperrecon.com. Ready-Made Resources has a limited number of PVS-30 night vision scopes for $4,700. These are the top-of-the-line night vision scopes used by the U.S. military, which normally sell for over $11,000. Turn your 12-hour rifle into a 24-hour rifle. Visit Ready-Made Resources to get your PVS-30 today. Trading Post in the Woods is ran by veteran crisis responders who know how important it is to be prepared. They specialize in comprehensive natural survival remedy kits, preparedness and homesteading supplies, as well as skills training. Visit them online today at tradingpostinthewoods.com. Hey Preppers and Patriots, this is the second half of my interview with Todd Sepulveda of Prepper Website. Enjoy the show. We've just had the announcement of the new TSA pat-down standards. Full body pat-down is now the rule. TSA spokesman Bruce Anderson said people will notice that the new pat-down is more involved. And of course, I think when he says involved, I think we all know that that means more invasive. And he also said they'll be more frequent. So I guess our culture has acquiesced to the point that we're willing to have our wives and our children sexually molested in public in front of us.
You know, people will give up so much freedom, you know, in the vein of security, you know, in the cause of security. And people have been talking about that ever since the Patriot Act, you know, and 9/11 and all those kinds of things, about, you know, all the things that we're giving up in return for this. And I do. It's definitely something to be worried about. But I go back to, I think there is a feeling that is rumbling under the surface of people that are starting to take notice and starting to say, hey, you know, what the heck, you know, what's going on here? Why do we need to allow this? And then, you know, we have people that are, again, so those are the people that are aware. Those are the people that are starting to wake up. Those are the people that are starting to look around, and maybe their lives have been a little bit, they're starting to feel a little bit of unease or whatever, because maybe their job or you know, whatever, they're starting to look at crime. You know, in the area that I live in, it's been pretty much peaceful, but in the last couple of years, you hear more and more about what's going on. And you know, is that people will say, oh, well, it's always been there, but now you have social media and you have this and you have that, and you know, all that kind of stuff. And I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think we just, because of the economy and because of where people are and people are getting desperate, I think you're starting to see more and more of that. But so I think there's a rumbling of people starting to, you know, become aware, and their eyes are getting open, or, you know, coming open. But then you have the people that are, you know, the bread of circuses, man, that they just are completely entertained, and they want to watch the Kardashians, or they want to watch whatever's on TV, and they want to just completely, you know, melt into that. And they have no clue. I mean, how many conversations have I had with people when I've brought up different things, and people have had no clue, you know, no clue about what is going on. I remember having a conversation once with someone at work about the NDAA, and you know, I asked them, hey, and this person was, you know, a little bit more aware of things than others, and they had no clue. And I said, you know what, go look it up. And they had the opportunity to go at that time, and they looked it up on the computer and came back and said, wow, that is very, very scary. But how many people, you know, still don't know that that's there and what that entails, you know?
And, you know, when I think about it, it's very popular in the Muslim culture, and also in among African African states when they go to war, to use rape as warfare, you know, because it's the ultimate domination of the other culture is to rape them. And I remember hearing a story from it was actually Pastor Chuck Smith that was telling it, and he was talking about a man that was, and this was in the Balkans during the conflicts there, decades back, and a group of militia raping the man's wife and killing her, and then forcing him, telling him that he had to rape his own daughter, and he wouldn't do it, and they killed him. But then they made the brother raper, and this idea of this absolute subjugation through rape, because if you'll let me rape your wife or you'll let me rape your daughter, then I know you have absolutely 100% submitted to me, and I really don't have to worry about you. That's the sign that I know that you know I'm the boss now, and that's what this whole new TSA. Well, it's what TSA has always felt like to me, but especially with this, we're going to up the ante. We're going to get more invasive. We're going to do it more often, and you're going to watch, and you're going to like it, and you're going to let us. And that's what that feels like to me, is this absolute subjugation, as this like soft rape as a tool of warfare. What do you think about that?
No, I think that's a good point. I mean, that's, going along those lines and thinking about that. I mean, it's very, very, you can see it. It's very eye opening. I wonder how many people are going to, and that's the thing. How many people are not going to fly because of that? How many people are not going to travel because of that? They're going to look at it and say, okay, hey, I'm going to go ahead and deal with that so that I can go to my vacation, or I'm going to go ahead and accept that because of this or whatever. I mean, some people have to do it because of their work. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, after all the complaining that has been done, after all the videos on social media and the stories that you've heard, instead of dialing it back, they're going to increase it. To me, that's crazy. And so, yeah, you can kind of see where there might be an agenda there, definitely to keep you quiet, shut up, and do what I'm telling you to do. You know, you belong to me. That's a pretty scary place to be.
Yeah, I think if everybody just quit flying, which, I can't subject my wife to that. I can't do it. I can't do it. I will lose my freaking mind, if this happens. And so if I know that that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to end up in prison for the rest of my life, then why would I risk that? I mean, if I knew that there's an area of town that if I drive through that area at midnight, there's a pretty good chance my wife's going to get ripped out of the car, and 3 or 4 guys are going to do whatever they want to do with a gun to my head, I'm not going to drive through that. There's nothing in the world that's going to make me drive through that area of town, Yeah. And this isn't this just because it's somebody with gloves and just because they work for the government, that's the whole thing. That's how we had all these problems with priests molesting little children, is they had this, well, he's an authority figure, and they get away with it. And you can't let anybody do that, whether it's the guy in the bad end of town, or if it's some guy making, $8 an hour working for TSA because Walmart wouldn't hire him because he wasn't qualified to be a greeter at Walmart.
Oh man, that's so true. I don't think people realize that. That's more true than you realize.
He just didn't have the skill set to say hello to people coming through the door at Walmart, because he's got the personality of a box of pancake mix. So the only person, it was either get a check, smoke pot, and watch Oprah, or go work for the TSA. That was his 2 options. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. The dollar's lost over 90% of its purchasing power since 1971. Silver, on the other hand, has proven to be a very stable form of wealth preservation over the years. And where do you buy silver? Silver.com, of course. Silver.com offers fantastic prices on gold and silver. Check out Silver.com today. Whether your plan is to bug out or bug in, CampingSurvival.com has all of your preparedness needs, including fish antibiotics, long-term storage food, and water filters. Use coupon code PREPRECON for 5% off your order at CampingSurvival.com.
I hope that again, I hope that my thoughts of there being a rumbling of people just not being content and starting to, speak up a little bit more. Hopefully that is true. If not, I mean, the only thing that I could see happening is, people of faith are just going to have to start believing and trusting and even more so, because things are getting so crazy out here. And it's just, I think we are looking at times, that are, even when people are saying things are getting better, the economy, they're looking at the stock market, they're looking at all that kind of stuff. Like, times are getting better, the job numbers are going up. There's this overall, things are better. But they're not, they really aren't. And people definitely need to be a little bit better prepared spiritually, mentally, for what's coming, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And faith, and James says faith without works is what? Is dead.
Yeah.
Dead. So you gotta combine action with that faith. And I think it's time for Christians to quit flying on planes. And I know that's tough. I know it's a tough call, but watching your wife get molested should be tough. If not flying, if not going to Disneyland or having to drive 3 days, if that's more cumbersome to you than watching your wife be molested in front of you while another man with a gun will kill you if you intervene. They'll shoot you. They'll blow your brains out, So it's not like this. Did that
already go into effect? Was it March that was happening?
Yeah, and there's been so many stories of so many people that have been just completely molested by the TSA that, it's just only thing they've done is they're saying, well, whatever your problems you thought you had before, they're going to be 10 times worse now. It's going to happen to a lot more people. The statistical odds just went up tenfold. And when it happens, it's going to be way worse. That's all it is. You should have never, I've been very, very hesitant to fly, but already just because of this, just because I know that, like I said, I'll lose my mind if that happens to my wife. And so I'm not going to put myself in that situation in the same way that I'm not going to drive through that bad side of town where that can happen to her. And I think that we're all happy that Trump won and it wasn't Hillary. But I haven't heard anything from him about this gross violation of freedom. Do you think he understands the implications of this criminal offense that's being committed by the TSA?
No, I don't know where he's at on all of that. I don't know. I think he's got so much stuff going on that he's dealing with. That looking at all the stuff on top of having to fight other Republicans, to get things done. I don't know if that's, part of it. Do you remember when that went into effect? Was that going into effect in March, or is it already in effect, or?
I think the announcement was that, it was going into effect as of the announcement, which was, just a few days back.
So hopefully, word will, filter up. And maybe he would make a change, but I doubt it. I doubt that it'll change anything. I think that kind of stuff is here to stay until people really start making a difference in how they travel, and it starts to hurt the airlines to where they start complaining, and finally TSA has to back off.
Yeah, and we know that Trump didn't like his phone being tapped, but we haven't really heard much from him about the Vault 7 either. And there's this sort of, and I was a big proponent in during the campaign once it was whittled down and it was Trump and Hillary. I was pushing for folks to get out there and vote for Trump, and come 4 years from now, I'm sure I'll be voting for him again. But do you see some issues here with this sort of Trump worship? Because there's certain things that I don't think he gets about freedom and about. Let's read the Fourth Amendment real quick, can we? Because evidently it's been a while since some folks have heard it, and it says the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Do you think that statement needs any clarification?
No, not at all. I mean, I think it's pretty clear.
It's crystal, right?
Right. My only question is, when was this set up, right? So when the TSA and where they're going with this increase of patting down and extra that they're doing, was that set up in the previous administration, or was it in this administration? And then, is it something that he's just not aware of, something that's not being talked about in his circle right now, and eventually needs to get there? I mean, I don't know. Maybe there needs to be some viral videos that go out there, and maybe there's some news people that are reporters that need to, question him on things that are happening, and then maybe that will change things. But I don't know. I don't know. I mean, where the I guess the catalyst was for this increase.
Well, they were saying that a lot of stuff was getting through the metal detectors and so on and so forth. But we go back to this, trading our freedom for security. I'd rather be free, than. And if we look back through, and I think the whole freedoms for security thing, when we look back through history, it's always been a ploy that's been used by a dictator. And, and a lot of folks are okay with it happening now, because our guy's in the White House. And so, if the, and this is what the Democrats just went through, they hated it when it was Bush, and then they got their guy in. Oh, and he's going to turn it all around. And then 8 years went by and it grew sevenfold, and the monster's bigger. And now, and there, a lot of them are the ones that are reading 1984 now, because they were okay with it when it was Obama that had the keys to the thing. But now that it's Trump, they're shaking in their shoes. And now the Republicans are okay with it. But let me tell you something. He might have 4 years. He might have 8. But sooner or later, that pendulum's going to swing back. And if you sit back and you acquiesce and you let this surveillance state keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, the wrong person's going to have the keys on the other side of it. Yeah, when the pendulum swings back.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I've heard that here recently, when it's going to happen. When that happens, if it's just 4 years or 8 years, kind of scary to think about all the things that might be put in place. And so, again, I go back to the times that we're living in. I go back to, where's my faith? I go back to, where's my trust? And, but in the long run, we know that, the people that are in power, they're there, but God's in control. And we definitely not happy. We should, vote. We should be vocal and speak out and all those kinds of things. But in the long run, I mean, my faith is the thing that drives me, every day, every minute of the day.
Yeah. Amen. And I think that it's time for Christians and all conservatives to start writing Trump. You can write the White House. And if somebody's if they're getting pinged on the same issue over and over and over, then it's going to show up on their desk. So write him about this TSA thing. Tell him that you're not happy with it. Tell him that it's appalling, and thank him for taken the concern to try to secure our borders, even though he's getting all this pushback from the federal judges. I applaud his efforts there. I applaud his efforts to, let him know this in your letter. I applaud your efforts for, cutting funding for abortion procedures outside of America, which he did, in his first week, and let him know this is, abortion and borders. These are huge, but let him know also that you don't want to see your wife and your children molested at the airport. You don't want to be treated like a criminal in your own country, and let him know that that's just as important, because if that happens, then what are we saving this country for? Why secure the borders in the first place? Because we've already fallen if we're going to treat each other like criminals, and we're going to have to sit back and take that type of abuse from our own government. It's sick. And if you cede these rights, they're gone. If you let an agent in your home with no warrant, if you speak to an agent without an attorney present, if you get on a plane, your protections are gone, and you're no better off than if you were in North Korea. And we just can't keep giving up ground.
I agree with you 100%, man. 100%.
Todd, thank you so much for making time for us today. Tell us again the name of your new podcast, where folks go to get it, when it comes out. Give us the whole rundown.
All right. Well, you can go to the website address is theprepperwebsitepodcast.com. And I went ahead and did that. Some people were asking me, Todd, why didn't you just connect it to Prepper Website? And just the fact that Prepper Website, the theme, the Drudge Report theme is just, it's good to link things to, but it's not good to write articles or anything like that, put any other kind of copy down. So I went ahead and started a whole new website. And so you can go to theprepperwebsitepodcast.com to get to the website. I do it. It's a weekday podcast. So I'm doing it 5 days a week. I try to do it the night before. So Monday podcast actually is posted on late Sunday night and comes out so that when people are driving to work, they can go ahead and listen to it on their various podcast catchers. We're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher, we're on TuneIn. You can go to the subscribe Android button if you have an Android phone, and whichever podcast app you're using, it'll pop up in there. And so, like I said, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. It's about a 30 to 40 minute podcast, depending on what it is, depending on the articles. I'm trying to do some interviews as well. The interviews are not necessarily, like we're doing right here, because there's no way that I could do that by doing it at night. But they're like written interviews. So I send questions to people, and they send them back to me. And that's on Wednesday night. I'm trying to feature that. People who do have the ability to record, that they'll send me an audio version of the interview, and so I can do that. So go there, and I have all the social media connected there. The Facebook, the Twitter, all those different things, and go there and check it out. I'm really thoroughly enjoying it. I love to see different. We're getting people from all over the world right now hitting it, which is very, very exciting. And so I'm just very blessed that it's kind of taken off the way it is. And so I appreciate that.
Todd, thanks again. It's good talking to you.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
In the Days of Elijah, Book 2, Wormwood, by best-selling author Mark Goodwin. Everett and Courtney Carl have survived the 7 seal judgments, which devastated the planet, but have their efforts to stay alive been in vain? The next series of judgments to fall upon the earth are known as the 7 trumpets. Within this series of cataclysms is the Earth's collision with a giant asteroid known as Wormwood. The comet will poison poison much of the planet's freshwater supplies, making survival nearly impossible. With each subsequent trumpet judgment, their odds of living grow slimmer. If Everett and Courtney are to survive, they'll need perseverance, faith, and a great outpouring of providence from the Almighty. Buy your copy of The Days of Elijah, Book 2, Wormwood, in paperback, Kindle, or audio edition from Amazon.com today.